So, as Jyotish was saying, our topic this morning is how we can use the guru-disciple relationship to deepen our spiritual life and to find God. And one of Master's great spiritual interpretations that he gave us, we talked on Monday about his interpretations of the Gita and the Rubaiyat and the Bible, but he also did an interpretation of the most clear and most powerful source of yoga, which are Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And these things are fascinating. And Master explains them. It's so interesting because you read other scriptural interpretations of Patanjali, and I can usually get through about 3 pages, and then it's like, what are they talking about? And you read Master's, and they're so full of joy, and so spontaneous, and so fresh, and you don't even realize that you're getting these profound teachings. That was his gift to all of us. But one of the things that I want to focus on is there are 108 aphorisms, and they're all very, very short. First one you probably know, yoga is the neutralization of the waves of feeling. But aphorism number 30 is, what are the obstacles to finding God? And he names many of them, but there's 2 I want to focus on. The first one is false notion, or Master explains that as hallucination. And I want to, by way of illustration, I want to share a little story from Master's life that once when he was out on his lecture campaigns, I don't know what city this happened in, but some city in the United States, some man came to him after the lecture and said, I have the power to leave my body at will and to travel through space in my astral body, and I can go anywhere in the world. And Master, who had all power, he was all-knowing, he looked at him through the spiritual eye, and he knew this man was just deluding himself, but he didn't want to humiliate him. But he felt to help him. So he said, come to my hotel room after the lecture tonight, and after we're finished here, and you can show me this great ability that you have. And so the man came up, and he sat cross-legged on the floor, and Master said his eyes were twitching. He was obviously, not in a very deep state. And then after a second or 2, he said, I'm on the top of the Taj Mahal. And Master said, that's wonderful that you can just do that like that. And then Master said, let's try something else a little more closer to home. I want you to leave the body and astrally project yourself down into the dining room of this hotel. And that said, no problem. And so he immediately did this, and he described it in the people that were there and what was going on. And there was a palm tree in one corner and a piano in the other corner. And Master said, that's very interesting. Now let me try it. And then he described the restaurant of the hotel, but it was entirely different from what the man had said. And then he took the man's hand as a child, and he said, let's go down now and see who's right. And they ran down, and it was nothing like what the man had said, and it was exactly as Master had described it. And the man, but Master didn't want to humiliate him, but the man was wise enough that he said, I realize now I've been deluding myself. These have just been false notions. These have been hallucinations. And we can say, well, I don't do that. I don't hallucinate. I don't have false notions. But let's be honest. As long as we think this world is real, we are living in a hallucination. And on Sunday, when Anandi and Bharat did Sunday service, Anandi told a story about people getting advice from Swamiji and how Swami would give them advice, and then they'd say, well, I'm going to go have to ask what Master says, go inside. Well, Jyotish and I have also been present frequently when Swami was counseling people, and we also have had the experience that somebody, to put it in simple and easily expressed terms, somebody will say, Swami, should I paint my house purple or yellow? And Swami will say, I think you should paint it purple. And they'll come out and say, Swami said to paint my house yellow. And it was just the opposite of what he had said, the exact opposite. And Jyotish and I would stand there and say, what? I mean, we wouldn't say anything because it wasn't our position to interfere. But it was amazing how people could, exactly what they wanted to hear, that's what they heard. And the guru comes in to break our hypnosis. As long as we think, and we were talking about the breaking down of the ego, as long as we think we are separate, as long as we think we know what's true, and just have a little wall around us, you can take it as a fact that you are missing the point, that you're living in a state of false perception. And the guru comes to wake us up, just as Master helped that man, not with saying, you are such bozos, you have no idea what this world is really about, how can you pretend to live your life, the way you are, it's just a joke. Not at all. He comes and he says, I appreciate the fact that you're seeing the world this way, but it's not the way it really is. And let me help you, let me show you. And we've been reading Swami's rewrite of the path, now called the New Path. And it was interesting because it jumped out at me that in the first weeks that Swamiji was with Master, Master told him 3 things to do. And they're very, very pertinent to this discussion. The first thing, and this is about false notion, hallucination. Master told Swamiji, never go to bed at night until you have convinced yourself that this world is God's dream. Break through that hypnosis. Break through that hallucination that this is real. And I didn't hear Swami say this, but someone told me this, and I've been thinking about it a lot. That Swamiji said recently, we need to get to the point where we see that this world is just a mirror. It's just reflecting back to us our thoughts, our feelings, whatever we're projecting out there. But then Swami said, but then you have to break through even the mirror and realize that it's really nothing at all. It's just a dream. And sometimes we get to that point. I remember many years ago when I was first coming on this path, I was trying to decide whether I should come to Anand or not. I was finishing up college, and I went to sit by, I was in Madison, Wisconsin, and a lot of lakes there, and it was a beautiful spring day, and I was sitting by the lake, and all of a sudden, and I think this happens to many people, when God's trying to catch you and get your attention so you'll start on the spiritual path, He'll often give you little touches of states of higher awareness, and you think, oh, that's not so hard. I could do that. And then, years later, you're trying to get back to what that was. But Jai put it, you're cashing in your spiritual bank account from past lives, and you get some, cash back, and then you are able to travel. You fill your tank up, and you're able to go a little while. But I was looking out at this lake, and there were people on boats, and people swimming, and little ducks in the water, and birds and trees, and people strolling. And just for a brief period of time, I could just see how none of those forms were separate, that it was just all one thing. And it was a thing of great beauty and great love and great joy. And that's everything other than that perception is a hallucination. It's a fake. And this world is a fake. And the guru comes to wake us up. We can't wake up on our own. We have to have someone who sees through the mirror to help us pass through the state of hallucination into the state of true awareness. And how does the guru do this? He does it through magnetism. He does it just as, we've all learned so many different things in this life. We've learned to play tennis, and we've learned to dance and paint and sports, etc., etc. And we've had many teachers, not gurus, but teachers. But I'm sure you've had the experience that someone's trying to teach you something and you're trying to get it with your mind and it's just not getting in there. And then there's that moment where you get it, whether it's how to swing a tennis racket or how to balance a checkbook or whatever it may be. But there's that moment when on a deep intuitive level of perception, you understand something you didn't understand before. And it's such a joy when that happens. But so it is, the Guru awakens us from the state of hypnosis, of hypnotism, through the power of his magnetism. He also told Swamiji in those first weeks, second thing he told him, one, never go to bed before you convince yourself that this life is God's dream. Second thing he told him was, of many, but these things stood out in my mind, memorize my poem, Samadhi. Repeat it every day. Visualize that state until you totally identify that that is your own consciousness. So by the power of magnetism and identification with someone who has awoken from the state of hypnosis, of somnolence, we're able to begin looking at the world and saying it's not what it seems. It's a house of cards, a house of mirrors, and you touch it and it just dissolves. There's no substance to it. And it's not that life becomes, oh, this is a bad joke and I'm trapped in it. But when we wake up, we begin seeing past the form to the reality behind it. And that reality, as Jyotish was saying, is Satchidananda, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And we only experience that when we stop getting caught up in all the little divisions of it. Now, another thing that Patanjali talks about, so one of the obstacles to finding God is false notion. And he also talks about, and the teachings of yoga are so fun because they're ancient and yet they are so in this moment. So one of the other great obstacle to finding God is missing the point. It's just so right there. And Master says that has two aspects. One, getting caught up in distraction all the time, wasting time. And Master gave Swami also this instruction in those first couple of weeks. He said, when you're not meditating, keep your mind fixed at the point between the eyebrows, the seat of Christ consciousness. And then Swami asked him, how long should I do it? And Master said, start just some minutes a day. And then Swami, who was so eager, said, well, can I do it all day long? And Master said, that would be very good. And so we were talking yesterday about Swami's advice to try to think about God for 5 minutes a day. Bring these two together and you'll find it's very helpful. Keep your mind at the point between the eyebrows and then think of God. Start 5 minutes a day. And how do you do that? Just say, it's not rocket science. Just say, Master, I'm giving a talk now. Or Master, I'm taking notes now. Master, I'm washing these dishes now. But your consciousness at the point between the eyebrows and everything that you're doing. Master, I'm combing my little girl's hair now. Master, I'm going to dial my friend on the phone now. Whatever it is, you're having this. These classes have been so wonderful because they're re-inspiring all of us. And yesterday, just to share, I was doing that. And I was just saying, Master, I'm going and I was at work after the class. I'm going to go print up this letter. And now I'm going to get the letter off the printer, Master. And we're going to go back and we're going to look at it. And then somebody came up to me just at that point. And I could tell she kind of wanted to get into a little negative discussion. And I just couldn't do it. I simply could not do it. I just smiled at her and I said, oh, it's so nice to see you. And I just went into my office. And it was like, wow, that really worked. And it was very exciting to see that. So these were three things that Master told Swami in those early days. Never go to bed without convincing yourself that this world is God's dream. Keep your consciousness constantly focused as much as possible at the point between the eyebrows, and memorize samadhi. It's not that hard. If we can do that, this will really be a rebirth of our spiritual life. Now, there's a beautiful story. It's a allegory more than an actual thing that happened. But a man was walking on a long journey, and he looked back, and behind him, and he realized he was alone. But as he looked back behind him, he noticed that there were two sets of footprints on the path that he was walking. And he said, "That's strange." And then he paused, and he realized that God was walking with him. And then he came to a very, very difficult part of the journey. And there were brambles and thickets, and he had to cross rivers and jump over big boulders. And he looked, and there was just one set of footprints. And he thought, well, that's very strange. And then he got again to the smooth part, and it was easy. And lo and behold, there were two sets of footprints. And he stopped and he said, "God, where were you when it was so hard?" And he intuitively felt the response within his own heart, "Whose footprints do you think those were during the hard time? Those were mine, and I was carrying you, my child." And so we need to understand that all of the efforts we make, all the things we've been talking about, and the striving and the trying to put out the right energy and trying to have the right attitude and trying to meditate more and trying to think of God, who's doing it? If we think we are, we'll run out of steam. Truly we will. But if we can always understand that there is a power that sustains us, and if we don't look back, but just keep moving forward, that we will be able to accomplish so much more than we would give ourselves credit for. I don't know if you all have ever had the experience of going back to the grade school that you went to when you were a little child, a young child. I went, some years ago, I went back to Daniel Boone Elementary School in St. Louis, Missouri. And the amazing thing is that they shrank it. By some incredible scientific process, all the desks were teeny, and the hallways were so narrow, and the ceilings were so low. And I began to feel like Alice in Wonderland when she ate the mushroom that made her get bigger, and everything was teeny. And then I went into the gym, and the gymnasium, and that didn't seem so teeny to me because I looked up at the ceiling and there were these knotted ropes hanging down. Did you have to do that when you were little? I remember when the first time I did that, it scared me to death. And I thought, there's no way I was a little kid and climb up those ropes. And some of the kids just shinnied right up it. And I kind of got, 2 or 3 little knots up, and then I'd fall. And then finally I got halfway up, and then my arms started getting tired. And I thought, and then I'm sure if you've ever done it, you have the experience where you let go and, you get rope burns on your hands and on your knees. But I remember the first day when I made it all the way to the top. And then I was standing in the gymnasium, and I thought, that is pretty high for a little kid to get up there. But climbing those ropes, it's such a good image for the spiritual path. Because at first we get there, and we kind of see other kids climbing up, and they can do it real easy. They just have all the skills, and they have strong arms, and you're kind of standing there thinking, I can't do that. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I'll hurt myself if I do that. And then you make some attempts, and you fall down, and you do hurt yourself. But something tells you, keep trying. And then I think for most of us right now, I know I feel this way myself, I'm about halfway up the rope. And I think, I don't know. I don't know if I can get to the top of the gym. But if I let go, I know I'm going to get rope burns. I mean, I've seen other people let go, and I don't want to be like them. And so there we are. Halfway up the rope. And we have, and I actually find it helpful to think about that because I remember how great it felt when I did make it to the top. And so we just have to understand that if we can find, remember Master says in Autobiography of a Yogi, that first chapter, that the ability to get control of your body, to learn to walk and to talk, that's how we get the confidence to accomplish more complex things in life. Well, if we can just have the confidence to look back at things that we've done that seemed so far beyond our reach, that we felt totally inadequate to the task, and yet we did it. Hold those thoughts and hold them in the context of your spiritual life. And also understand that there's a force underneath that will help you, but we don't feel the force, do we, so much? I don't. A lot of the time, I don't see, when I look back and see one set of footprints, I don't think those are, I think those are my footprints. I don't think those are God carrying me along. And so if we can understand to make our best effort built on past successes and past the confidence that we've got from little successes on the spiritual path. I remember when I did Master's 9-day diet, I could do it. I remember when I did the Christmas meditation, I could do it. And all the little successes that we've had, cherish those and say, and let them build your enthusiasm and your confidence. We've had a unique opportunity. You know, think about this. Master came, an avatar, to transform the consciousness of the human race at this time. Christ asked Babaji and our line of gurus to come now, but Master came to the West. Sri Yukteswar was working behind the scenes. Babaji too was working behind the scenes. Lahiri Mahashaya had, even though he brought Kriya Yoga out into the world, handful of disciples. But Master came to the West, and he's reaching millions of people, east and west, with these teachings. But we have also not only the great blessing of being disciples of Master, but unique in all of Master's mission is for one of his direct disciples, like Swamiji, to spend decades training a group of people to disseminate his mission. Decades modeling for us, what does discipleship look like? And if we can, Swami has said in succeeding generations, I don't want the focus to be on him, but on Master. He said, if it starts getting, well, there was Swami, and then there was this and this and this, it'll get diluted. It always needs to go back to Master. He said that very clearly. But nevertheless, draw from his discipleship. And what qualities? Jyotish mentioned a few. For me, it's the unrelenting pouring forth of energy to do as good a job as he can in whatever he's doing. It's just staggering. You just want to say, why don't you take a break? But never. Just always, as long as there's breath in his body, to rewrite that article, rewrite that book, to put forth the best that is in him with unrelenting dedication, energy and dedication born of the understanding that he has found that which is the most precious to his heart, God in the form of his guru, and that he will serve him in whatever way he can to with his dying breath, and I'm sure he will. But if we can use these models of discipleship, use Master's grace sustaining our efforts, and understand that we have so much going for us, never lose hope and never give up. But if we can march forward, supporting each other, inspiring each other, giving each other the confidence that we can do this with God's grace, we will find God in this life. Master has promised this. God bless you.